Welcome to another episode of Rolectrified with me, Alan Ross, and today's special guest is Mark from Story Electrical. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, Alan.
You keeping well?
Yeah.
I see you've dressed up for the occasion. You've got a shirt on.
Well, I'm not normally in this sort of attire, I'll tell you that.
I bet. So it's a bit of a day off for your afternoon, shall we say?
Well, I was sort of in the neighbourhood doing a quote anyway, so thought I'd drop by.
Good man. Love that from you. So let's jump straight in. What's the story behind Story Electrical?
Wow, I love the pun, by the way. I guess it all started back when I was employed. Got a bit fed up, really, in the old rat race of living someone else's dream, so to speak. So I thought I'd take the plunge. Didn't have any contacts whatsoever. Just, started up on my own. It was going well. I thought I'd then dive into the EV charging world after about a year of doing it. As I thought, this is gonna take off. This is gonna be something that's not gonna go away. So went into that. Then COVID hit. Straight after I became a limited company. So there was no funding available for me whatsoever. But luckily enough, having the EV charger qualifications, I was able to then get a contract doing the NHS at home chargers through MG. So that kind of ticked me over. I was travelling all over the place, doing miles and miles a day. So went from strength to strength, really. Now we're still doing the EV chargers, obviously, Now we do solar. So we're quite established on renewables, but then we do a lot of other stuff as well, really. And so all aspects of electrical work, domestic-wise and commercial. So, yeah.
I see that really. When I met you, you seemed very personable.
Yeah.
I know you take pride in your work and from a business point of view. I think certainly following you on social media, you've got a good clientele and a good backing, but you also got a good name in the electrical industry as a whole.
Yeah. It's important to us just to make sure the customer is, happy. And it's important that the customer gets what they need to get, but they get what they want, They've got to be looked after at the end of the day. Our first things to establish really is what do they want, And also we make sure that they are aware of what they need, the actual, sort of options they've got and what they need to do. We also make sure that when we've set the charger up, they're fully able, if it's a domestic one, that, if they're able to use the app and they fully understand the functions. It's very important that you don't go away without setting this up with them. Otherwise, you're just going to get nuisance phone calls, really, saying, how do you do this? How do you do that? But luckily enough, the apps are very easy to use. So it doesn't really take much doing, just to spend a bit of time with them, show them how to use it, show them the functions and, see what they can do.
And this comes into conversation of us being aligned from a partnership perspective.
Yes.
I genuinely believe now it's 50% from the install and the other 50% is the upsell.
Yep.
Being able to explain and educate to the customer the capabilities of a EV charger and the actual usage thereafter as you've left site. Is there support? Do they actually understand the capabilities? If they want to make any additions, talk about future-proofing sites.
Yeah.
We were actually just speaking when you walked in here. There's so much more to installing an EV charger now than probably what anybody first thought of back in the day when you started before COVID.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're moving on daily, aren't they? We've got to move with the times. We've got to move with the technology as it's adapting. There's now like the payment options, obviously,
Well, you've got the back office, haven't we?
Yeah,
So let's talk about, we've got the hardware, the charger in the ground, and And from the background perspective, from the software, we're now looking at whether the chargers are set up free to use.
Yep.
From a, let's say, a commercial aspect. In the car park, you go to work in the morning, you plug your vehicle in, you then finish at 5 o'clock, you unplug, you've got enough charge to then obviously get home or go to your next appointment the following day and so on. We've got the capabilities of charging visitors, staff, and also the general public.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find that you obviously have to transition from becoming very good with your hands and physically on the tools to now adapting to appease the customer, more so educate them?
I feel just be honest, tell them what their options are, and it's just about explaining them to them really, and making them feel comfortable with what they're getting. As long as they're aware of the sort of options available to them, I find that it's very easy for them to then adapt to what they want.
And the type of customers which are speaking to you now, it used to be a general conversation of we're thinking of having these EV chargers installed. What is the actual level of impact now that businesses are requiring?
Well, a lot of the inquiries are coming because they're then getting the staff to get the EV vehicles, obviously for the wages,
the salary sacrifice,
basically, but a lot of them are now considering obviously getting them in at the workplace, and then also getting them to be installed at the customer, the actual homes of the employees.
Oh, okay.
So that's another thing that they're thinking of. But the option, at the end of the day, if they want to then just have them for the staff, they can. If they want to have them to monetize as well as use for the staff, they can. They can actually make a passive income from having these chargers installed if it's in like a publicly accessible place.
So we're talking about passive income. What has been the positivity and the impact on your business since focusing on EV charging?
I think it's just made the business go to extra heights. It's opened doors, put it that way.
What are you talking about? New clients which would have never contacted you before?
That's right. Yeah. It's made us more aware to people. We're more. People know who we are in our area.
And you also do cover national coverage, don't you?
Well, yes, we do. Yeah.
But you like to keep it as local. So what is your region which you like to operate in?
We sort of do a 60-mile radius of our office based in Market Deeping. So, it's quite a broad area really. But we do travel,
And there'll be certain installers here watching in that will be thinking, shall I take the plunge? Mm-hmm. I've been offered EV install work by current customers. I've been unsure. What would your advice to them be?
Do your research and basically go on the course. Don't just go and willy-nilly install a charger without the proper knowledge of what you need to do. You need to know what the actual requirements are and the regulations to do it. I do see a lot of bad installs done by people who don't have the knowledge, and it just gets really annoying and frustrating, really, from an installer's perspective. Also, attend training days, do your market research, that sort of thing. A lot of people like yourselves offer free training and advice to potential installers. Take advantage of it.
Because that's what you did.
Well, yeah.
You came in, did installer training, and moved on to technical training.
That's right.
How did that help you?
It helped me with the knowledge of knowing the technical functions of the actual EV chargers themselves. Common faults and problems and how to resolve them.
It always seems to be people travel from all over the UK. You've been on these training sessions, and they then come back to me and say, Al, I now need to gain traction and some momentum. And I say, come back for the sales and marketing course.
Yeah.
You came on that course, but it seems that it's not just anything that we've done to impact you, but it seems that you took on board different avenues and different approaches. And when I'm looking certainly on LinkedIn, it's install after install now. How's the sales and marketing enabled you to push forward and leverage your opportunities?
Well, it's opened new ways of how to market. It's opened, new doors and how to get that message across of what we do, especially on LinkedIn. And with the tools available now, after receiving marketing advice from yourselves, it's just helped us take it to another level.
It's good because I also get tending to questions where, is it really worth me going all the way to Boston for a day? I won't be earning any money on that day. What would you say to people that was in your position thinking, shall I drop the tools for a day to go to do a training course?
The money you make afterwards from gaining the knowledge of how to do it, it just pays for itself.
Yeah, like that. Moving forward to misconceptions with EV charging.
Right.
What are some of the most common ones that you tend to see on a daily basis?
EVs cars don't have the range at the moment, which is total nonsense. There's not the capacity in the grid to be able to cope with the demand of EV chargers that need installed in. They've just invested billions into making the grid more sustainable in the future. It's going to be happening that there's not going to be any problems. Also, there's the thing about EV chargers aren't actually, they're not environmentally friendly because of the other outputs. But it's just the haters, really, I think, who, people that are against the EV chargers coming out there because they feel like they're being forced into it.
Sure. I can gain that. Yeah, I understand that from a business point of view. On the flip side of it, we're speaking to businesses jointly that is wanting to have a better impact on the environment and becoming green. Do you see that there'll be more and more businesses moving forward, and certainly not even just businesses, but the average EV driver that is considering buying an EV vehicle and just trying to make a more positive impact on our environment?
Well, yes, we do. Well, a lot of people want to reduce their carbon footprint as well, especially businesses. You get fined now for a certain amount if you don't show that you're on your way to a, sustainable company. So,
Mark, talk me through domestic install from start to finish. So I've been told that I've got an electric vehicle on order.
Okay.
I need a charger at home.
Okay.
I've contacted yourself. What would be the first steps for you, and what do I need to know?
Right, the first steps is obviously make an appointment at your convenience when I can come out and take a look and see what is required. If you are a fair distance away, for example, as well, there's also a video call I could do, or I could send a questionnaire over. After establishing what your requirements are, what your budget is, that sort of thing as well, we can then point you into the direction of what charger to go for. Especially for the domestic household, you've got the QBEV, obviously, is the best budgeted one around at the moment. And then you've got the Zura and the Warpod. The Warpod is the classic, let's face it. And the Zura, it just gives the option of future-proofing to have 2 points in the future if required. But if your budget's not available for that sort of thing, then it's more pointed towards a QBEV. But then what we then do is explain the processes and the regulations of the requirements of what the EV charger needs to be doing. Our standard install really would be then to install a EV fuse board directly off the meter supply. After we've got the grid, obviously, to put in a isolating switch. Obviously, we're not going to pull our own fuses, you see, so that sort of thing. And then we take a cable from there to the charger, connect it up. Obviously, then we test the work carried out, commission it, go through the app setup with the customer, and then Obviously, if we make sure they're okay before we leave. But then there's always a follow-up process as well in a few days' time. Phone call. Are you happy? Yeah. No. Just struggling with this. Can you just, yeah, okay, this is what you do.
Do you tend to get, when the install is complete, do you tend to find that you're getting calls not necessarily about the physical charger in the install, but my car's not charging fast, or because we're finding that there's a lot of first-time EV drivers now in the marketplace?
Well, we don't often get that phone call because we've gone through the process of setting up the app with them. We used to, because we didn't take the process and the time to set the app up with them. Since doing that, the phone calls then have come down to a minimum, especially when I give the call back and they say, no, everything's working fine, 9 times out of 10.
I like that strategy. So while you're on site, spend the extra 10, 15 minutes with the customer, and it's going to save you time in the future. Yeah, I like that. From an electrical contractor point of view, do you feel that the market is there to expand? Or do you think that companies like yourselves are just going to hit a ceiling and the numbers are what they are now?
No, I think the market's there completely to expand. We're always looking to take on new projects, take on new clients, even offering maintenance packages as well. You know, they need looking after, the car chargers. They're used pretty much every day of the week. If it's a commercial business, they're used 5 days a week, aren't they? So they need checking over every 6 months, really, just to make sure everything's okay, make sure the site insides are all okay, you know, make sure everything's still testing fine. Just give it a little bit of an MOT, if you like, or service.
Like we would on, I don't know, actual cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, just to make
they
sure.
Get a lot of use.
Yeah, they do. And we often see that they've not been taken care of, or you're trying to, prevention's better than cure.
Yeah.
So you just go to open up the unit, do an inspection, make sure that everything seems fine.
That's right.
Adapting quickly. You're going to do an install.
Yep.
Is there any other opportunities with that, whether it's domestic, industrial or commercial? Is there any other opportunities which you can capture once you've installed an EV charging point on site?
Well, yeah, you can explain to them that then obviously they need the maintenance looking after, you know, checking every so often. So ask them if they're interested in a maintenance package. But then also, for example, if it is a commercial site, then speak to them about, the fleet option of having a charger at their employees' houses again.
Which is quite convenient, isn't it? Especially if you're not office-based.
That's right. If people are working from home, which a lot of people do now, say 2 or 3 days a week, then they can then have the charger at home, but also, obviously, you can track how much electricity is being used in the apps. So then this can then be taken against their salary, if you like, and it's a bit of an, expenses sort of thing, really.
Are you saying that the business doesn't necessarily have to go and install 15 chargers on site?
No. Unless they see it as being needed. I mean, if, for example, you want 15 chargers, then why not get 5 installed for now while your fleet's still small? And then there's the infrastructure grant available at the moment to then get the infrastructure in place and help with the funding for that. So then you can put them in the future. Those are the 10. That's what you want, 15. But you just get 5 if that's what you need at the moment.
Mark, been a pleasure. You've given us a real insight, and we like to do these interviews purely as you. It's not staged. We just roll through it. What would be your message to any potential customers that may be considering having chargers installed?
I'd say do your market research, but also research the installer as well. You know, you've got to make sure you're getting installed from a decent, reputable company. I mean, it's not always best to go cheap. Obviously, buy cheap, buy twice. A lot of the time, unfortunately, there is a lot of people out there who don't do it properly. But, you know,
Well, we can certainly vouch for you.
thank you.
You're an approved installer. You're also an ambassador for us on the maintenance front. So we can definitely say we know what you're doing.
Well, you wouldn't put your name to me, I suppose, would you, if you didn't trust me?
No, we wouldn't. And we're trying to get people like yourself to be an ambassador for us as a brand.
The same goes with I wouldn't be installing your products if it wasn't that I felt they were good and trusted, you know. So,
Well, thanks for popping over, having a cup of tea with me.
thank you.
I'm sure we'll look forward to seeing you in the future, and we'll make sure that we put all your contact details in the description. Ladies and gents, that's Mark from Mark Story Electrical.